This is the Harry Loomis Show.
Welcome to NASCAR Championship Weekend. This is the Harry Loomis Show, and I am going to break down all three NASCAR Championship races here this weekend at Phoenix International Raceway. And we are going to try to pick who is going to win each of the NASCAR Cup Series, NASCAR Xfinity Series, and NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series championships in 2024. This is one of the most difficult championship weekends to predict in some time, but we're going to give it our best shot, and let's get right into it. We're going to start with the Craftsman Truck Series. I'm recording this at 11:05 Eastern Time on Thursday night. The Truck Series race is Friday night. Obviously, that's always the first race of championship weekend, and first things first, it cannot be possibly be worse than last year's race. I went on record saying that might have been the worst race in NASCAR history, especially in Truck Series history, given the circumstances and everything. Just a complete and utter embarrassment. We're not going to get that this year. We got four drivers in it. Last year's champion Ben Rhodes is not a part of that. He did not make it out of the first round of the playoffs this year. Who do we have in 2024? We have Corey Heim, the driver of the 11 truck, who led the series with 6 wins this year. Christian Eckes, who is having a historically consistent season. He's in the 19 truck. He's won 4 times this year. We have Ty Majeski, who is in the 98 truck. He's in his second career championship for appearance, missed in 2023, was in it in 2022. And last but not least, we have Grant Enfinger, one of the lovable veterans of the Truck Series. He's been in this, I believe this is his third championship for appearance. Almost got the win, the championship last year. If not for a late caution, Grant Enfinger would have been your 2023 champion. He's going to go for his first this year. He will be racing in the number 9 truck for CR9 Motorsports. And looking at the stats, you could make the argument that the right 4 made the championship for this year. These 4 drivers have combined for 14 of 22 wins in the 2024 season. Obviously, Heim leading the way with 6, Eckes with 4. The other 8 wins, Kyle Busch got 2. Nick Sanchez, who was the first one out of the championship 4, also got 2. Lane Riggs won 2 races in the playoffs. Raja Caruth got 1, and Ross Chastain won at Darlington as well. So outside of those 8 races, all 14 other races have been won by one of the drivers in the championship 4. Grant Enfinger is the only one that you could kind of say maybe wasn't that good all year long. He was one of the around ninth place in the regular season standings, made his way in on points, but really caught fire in the round of 8, winning at Talladega and Homestead back-to-back, 2 very different racetracks. I think they are hitting their stride at the right time. So there's a lot to look at here. Obviously, make no mistake about it, there's 4 drivers. This series has been the Ben Rhodes and Christian Eckes show pretty much all year long. That's not really a controversial thing to say. It's just a fact looking at the numbers. Eckes has 1,050 laps led this year. Corey Heim has 666. Next highest is Ty Majeski with 468. Eckes and Heim both have average finishes under 7.5. Eckes 21 top 10s in 22 races this year. Heim's the 6 wins, the 17 top 10s. Really just about a flawless season by both of them, especially Eckes. His only non-top 10 was a brake failure at Atlanta in the second race of the year, a race that he won the first stage in before these issues set him back to a 30th place finish. So these 2 are obviously going to be the ones that we're going to focus on the most going into Friday. But you can't discount Ty Majeski. Phoenix being a short track, kind of a flat track, that is Ty Majeski's bread and butter growing up on the short tracks of the Wisconsin area. And Grant Enfinger too, he has always run well at these kind of tracks. You think of tracks like Richmond is very similar to Phoenix. Grant Enfinger's going to win there. Gateway is probably the closest comparable on the Truck Series schedule, and Grant Enfinger won there in 2023. Really, there's not a single driver in the Championship 4 that shouldn't run well at this track. We mentioned Majeski. He's also had really good runs at Gateway. He won at Richmond earlier in this year as well. Corey Heim won Gateway earlier this year and in 2022. Had a great truck here last year before getting spun by Carson Hocevar, kind of leading to the mess of a race that that championship was last year. And Christian Eckes, obviously coming off the win at Martinsville last week, got some momentum on his side, and he won this race back in 2023. That's one of those races where a lot of people don't even remember who won that race because it was such a sloppy mess. But it actually did end up being Christian Eckes, so he's got 4 wins this year. He had 4 wins last year. We don't know. He's the only one that we know is going to be moving up to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Christian Eckes will be driving for Colleague Racing next year, replacing AJ Allmendinger. More on him later. But we assume Grant Enfinger is probably going to be back with the 9 truck. We assume Ty Majeski is going to be back with the 98 truck. And Corey Heim, for whatever reason, I think he could be ready to drive in the Cup Series next year, but he is going to remain with Tricon Garage for another season in 2025. So, as good as he's been this year and as good as he was last year, he could wipe the field next year with just another year of experience, but that's for another time. Like I said, these drivers are pretty even, and you can take all the analysis, you can take all the trends, you can take all the stats, and you can throw them away for one race. Who is going to perform the best on Friday night? Who is going to finish the best of these four and win the championship? Well, before the season and before the playoffs started, I predicted that Corey Heim would be the 2024 champion, and I'm going to stick with that. I believe that this is going to be Corey Heim's year. I think he's going to get the one that got away from him in 2023. Um, he's been arguably the best driver in the Truck Series all year long. It's been him and Christian Eckes, like I said. And I think this is going to be the first of quite a few championships that Corey Heim is going to win in NASCAR. So Corey Heim is my pick to win both the race and the 2024 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Championship. Now we're going to move on to the Saturday Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series. The 4 drivers represented this year are Austin Hill, who leads the series with 4 wins, driving the number 21 car for Richard Childress Racing. Cole Custer, the defending champion, is back in the 00 Ford for Stewart-Haas Racing, the last Xfinity race for Stewart-Haas Racing under that name. They will remain in the series next year with the Haas factory team with Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer driving. But this is Cole Custer's last ride with Stewart-Haas in the Xfinity Series. Justin Allgaier is back trying to finally capture that elusive Xfinity Series championship. He'll be in the number 7 car for Junior Motorsports. And last but not least is AJ Allmendinger, who won Las Vegas to make his way into the championship 4 in his number 16 Chevrolet for Colleague Racing. Another pretty hard to gauge championship 4. Before the season started, Cole Custer was my champion. I had him and AJ Allmendinger making this championship 4 as they did. I did not have Justin Allgaier. I did not have Austin Hill, but they both proved me wrong this year. We're going to go kind of individually and talk about all these drivers and kind of what to expect. I think the toughest one, we're going to start with AJ Allmendinger, who I think is going to be the toughest one to gauge just because when he came back to the Xfinity Series in 24, we expected him to run just like he did in 21 and 22, where he won, I think, 5 races both years, was the epitome of consistency, won the regular season championship pretty handily, especially in 2022. And for whatever reason, that hasn't been there this year. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't been bad. 17 top 10s, a 13.5 average finish, 258 laps led is not a bad season by any means, but the 1 win is really surprising, but it did come at the right time, at the very least. But it's a question of, did AJ Allmendinger peak at the right time? Did he peak too early? And I really don't know what happened to begin with at the start of the year. Shane Van Gisbergen obviously came into the Colleague Racing team with the partnership with Trackhouse Racing. He really took the series by storm, winning some of those road races that were AJ's bread and butter, have always been his bread and butter, but he wasn't as much of a factor on some of the intermediate tracks that we would have liked to see. In the first Phoenix race this year, he struggled mightily for whatever reason, finished 18th, a lap down. Not the AJ Allmendinger that we've come to expect, but like I said, this is just one race. He's been here before. He made the championship at 21. He's by far the most experienced driver in this series. He's been in NASCAR since he was a rookie with Red Bull in 2007. Can this be the day that AJ Allmendinger finally becomes a NASCAR Xfinity Series champion? That's going to be the question. Now, Austin Hill is one of the more polarizing drivers in the series. You either love him or you hate him. It's pretty simple. He gives no quarter of his competition and asks no quarter back. He's gotten into it with teammates. He's gotten into it with Cole Custer. He's gotten into it with Myatt Snyder. In 2022, he's a hard-nosed driver through and through, and that's what's gotten him here. He's the epitome of a Richard Childress racing driver, in my opinion, just because of that kind of old school white knuckle mentality. And the round of eight has always kind of been his Achilles heel. The last his 3 years in Xfinity, he's locked himself in the playoffs the first week every single year, winning at Daytona, trying to build on that throughout the rest of the season. And he's been good. Don't get me wrong. 2 wins in 22, 4 wins last year, 4 wins this year. But this year, he finally gets the job done at Homestead, passes Cole Custer late, had the best car all day that day, and finally is in this position, a position he never was in the Truck Series either, despite having some really good years for Hattori Racing. We have seen Austin Dillon bend and break a little bit in the round of eight. 23 obviously was a really, really rough look for him and Richard Childress Racing as a whole with the Sheldon Creed fiasco. What does Austin Hill's performance, temperament, execution, what does that look like in a one race sample size for all the marbles? I really don't know. I don't know what to expect from Austin Hill. By all accounts, he should be the driver to beat. Like I said, he leads the series in wins. He had a fourth place finish in Phoenix earlier this year. This should be a race that you have to beat Austin Hill to win. But will Austin Hill is Austin Hill going to beat himself? That's a very real question we have to ask when it comes to the 21 car this weekend. But Richard Childress Racing is very, very good in the Xfinity Series. They're proven. They've got all the history you could ask for. If he's going to get it done, he's on the right team to do it, that's for sure. Cole Custer's next, and he is a guy that's in his fourth championship for one last year, obviously, like we said, led and had the best car in the race by no, by every stretch of the imagination, led 96 at 202 laps, had a great restart to put it away at the end after passing John Hunter Nemechek late in the going. And this year, it it was a bit of a slow launch for Custer. He was running well all year long. Don't get me wrong; he was running really consistently. Didn't get a win until race 19 at Pocono. Got a second one at Bristol. And it seemed like this was a team that was kind of just biding their time. That's what they did in 23 as well. You know, you look at 2019, he was such a monster, 7 wins on the season, and had to put up a good fight in Miami, don't get me wrong, but it seemed like he kind of just ran out of gas a little bit at the end. Tyler Reddick ended up getting by him and driving away for that championship. 23, they really bided their time as Austin Hill was getting all these wins. John Hunter Nemechek in particular was getting all these wins. They struck at the right time. They got themselves exactly where they needed to be to pounce at the right time, and that's what they did. And this year feels like more of the same. Um, you know, the win at Homestead would have been really nice. He looked like he had that race in control until late. Austin Hill got around him, but finishes of eighth, second, and fourth in this round. Despite making possibly an enemy in Chandler Smith, they've had a little bit of a back and forth. Custer seems like he's pretty much in the exact same position he was in 2023, which, knowing how that turned out for him, is a really dangerous thing for the other team, for the other three teams involved. I think that Cole Custer is probably going to be the guy to beat in Phoenix come this Saturday. But the real question is what happens with Justin Allgaier. He's lost his championship just about any way you can name it. He's been in the Xfinity Series ever since this playoff format started, made the championship four in 16, 17, 19, 20, 22, and 23, and has found 6 different ways to lose. He's pretty much the Denny Hamlin of the series at this point, which is so interesting to me because he is so good at this track. Yeah, he finished 29th here early in the year because of a wreck. He had that race won. He led 52 laps, was a blown tire away from winning that race. Sometimes those kind of things just happen if you're just an all-guyer. It's just one of those freak deals. But is this going to be the year? That's really the only question is it going to be the year? We know how good Allgaier is at this track. He's got multiple wins here. These are his kind of tracks. It's not this is why I say you have to throw out all stats, you have to throw out all analysis for a championship format like this. Can Justin Allgaier find a way? This all it comes down to is can he find a way to win this championship? I don't think he does. I'm going to be honest with you. My pick for the championship is Cole Custer. He was my pick at the beginning of the season. He's my pick at the start of the playoffs. I love where the 00 team is at. I'm going to say I think that we are going to see a very similar Cole Custer performance to what we saw in 2023, and he's going to walk away with the championship. He's going to close out Stewart Haas Racing with an Xfinity Series championship. A pretty awesome way for that team to go out. Just think of the storylines as Cole Custer wins the 2024 NASCAR Xfinity Series championship. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Who do I think is going to win the NASCAR Cup Series championship in 2024? I'm going to be honest with you. As of recording this, I don't know who I'm going to say. I'm going to talk myself into one of these four picks in live time. We're going to figure it out together. But first, we got to meet the four gentlemen that are here. The winner of Las Vegas, Joey Logano, a two-time champion, the only former champion in one of the two former champions in this championship before. He drives the number 22 Pennzoil Ford for Team Penske. And also from Team Penske is Ryan Blaney, the driver of the 12 car, who won Martinsville on another walk-off. The defending champion is back with the number 12 Menards Ford. Also making it in for the first time is Tyler Reddick, who drives for 2311 Racing, Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, the number 45 Toyota. He got in on an unbelievable win at Homestead Miami Speedway. And last but not least is William Byron, who got in under quite a bit of controversy with that wild finish at Martinsville, to put it lightly. And a quick note on that, we were pretty much dead on with our predictions for the penalties for Ross Chastain, Austin Dillon, and Bubba Wallace's team. $100,000, 50 driver point and owner points, crew chiefs and spotters suspended for the last race of the season. Once again, I don't think the punishments fit the crime for race manipulation, but there's not a lot you can do. I don't think you were going to take William Byron out of that championship. You weren't going to put Christopher Bell in. You certainly weren't going to put Kyle Larson in. I think it's time to move on. But let's take a look at these three drivers and see what we can expect from them. First things first, all three of them are really, really, really good at this track. Joey Logano is a multiple-time winner here in the Cup Series level, won this championship race in 2022 to win his second title. Ryan Blaney has never won here in the Cup Series, but is always a threat, has a bunch of top 5 finishes here, finished second in the championship race in 23 to lock it up. Ross Chastain, a non-championship 4 driver, won this race a year ago. Tyler Reddick has really been running up front a lot recently at Phoenix. Top 10 finish earlier this year, led 68 laps, arguably the most consistent driver all year long as well. And then there's William Byron, who has both a Cup Series and Xfinity Series win here, and was also part of that championship 4, had a pretty strong run in last year's race as well. So we're going to take a look at them one by one. And I think the least controversial driver to talk about is Tyler Reddick. And that's a guy whose team owners are suing NASCAR. That tells you how controversial this championship 4 is right now. But Reddick really, I had high expectations for Reddick this year. I had him winning 5 races. I did have him in my championship 4. He's blown me away even then. Doesn't have the wins. He only has 3 wins this year. But his summer stretch in particular was something special. Races 18 through 24, finishes of 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 6th, 2nd, 3rd, and 1st. My only gripe on him was that he had a bunch of races where I felt like he could have won and for some reason didn't in the middle of the season. I think of Nashville. I think of Chicago back to back. But the issue with him in years past, especially in 23, was that he had all the speed in the world early on in races but couldn't close the deal. Now he's figured out how to close the deal. You saw what he did at Miami. He not only closed the deal, he flat out stole a race that he had no business winning in the position that he was in. That is a dangerous, dangerous driver. Tyler Reddick also has been in 2 championship 4s in the Xfinity Series in 2018 and 19. Different track for the championship race, but he walked off with the win in both of them, the only driver to win back-to-back championships in the playoff format in any of the top three series. That is the guy that I want driving my race car. Tyler Reddick is going to be so fun to watch this weekend. The other perfectly non-controversial driver in this championship four is Ryan Blaney. Like I said, the defending champion looking to join Tyler Reddick as back-to-back champions in the playoff format. And Blaney has had a pretty solid season, all things considered. I would actually say it's a little bit better than last year, even with him winning the championship. I like the consistency a lot more throughout the season. And Blaney's kind of a guy like Reddick. He would lead a lot of laps early in his career, but would not get the win. There was a stat about him leading 100 laps in however many races in his career before finally winning one of those races. I think it was a Coke 600 last year. And he's really turned that around. His 4 wins this year, or his 3 wins this year. Iowa, he led 201 laps. Pocono, he led 44 and drove away from the field. Martinsville, 32 laps led, drove away from the field. He was a guy that early in his career was winning a lot of races, just kind of at the end of the thing, just kind of squeaking them out. You think of the Talladega wins, the Daytona win, but now he's really figured out how to just take it to them and kind of start dominating races. And with Phoenix being a track that produces a lot of long green flag runs, he's a guy that's really learned how to bide his time pretty well. Him and Jonathan Hassler work super well together. He's got a new spotter this year too, and that hasn't slowed him down one bit. Phoenix is Blaney's kind of type of track too. Like I said, you think of some of the tracks that are pretty similar. Gateway is probably the closest similarity, and Blaney had that race won had it not been for running out of gas on the last lap. If they bring that kind of setup to this race, Ryan Blaney is going to be very, very, very tough to beat. Next up is William Byron, the driver who I predicted to win the championship before this season started. And after Martinsville, man, was I feeling like a smart man. He had 3 wins in the first 8 races, including the Daytona 500. Then he won Circuit of the Americas and Martinsville. But since then, no wins, struggled for a while, but has really, really picked it up in the playoffs. His last 6 finishes, Kansas second, and then third, fourth, sixth, and sixth. Getting some consistency back at the right time. Obviously, he hasn't won any of those races, but you have to be running up front to even be in contention for the win. So I like what I'm seeing out of the 24 group. I still think, even though Penske's won the last 2 championships, I still think Hendrick is the best team in all of NASCAR. I don't think it's particularly close. And the fact that they only have one car in the championship four means that all hands are going to be on deck for the number 24 car to bring Mr. Hendrick another Cup Series championship. That's a scary thing if you're any other team. Like I said, Byron is one of the best drivers in NASCAR, one of the most well-rounded as well. He's run really well at Phoenix in the past. An 18th place finish earlier this year wasn't great, but this team, like I said, has been getting better and better throughout the year. Some of these races with the new short track package, like Iowa, he ran really well. I ran second to Ryan Blaney. So I like what I'm seeing out of him. Obviously, under some some dubious circumstances, even getting into the championship four, but he is not going to care about that once he gets there. He's battle tested as well. The fact that he made the championship four last year, I think any experience like this is a good thing. It doesn't matter the series you're in. We know Byron's a champion in 2017, the Xfinity Series as well. I think that William Byron is still going to be a pretty fierce competitor, despite having the longest winless drought of any of the 4 drivers in here. And then there's Joey Logano. The even year streak continued for Logano, and this year he had to rely on that more than any other year. He has been straight up bad for Joey Logano standards in 2024, and that's not personal or anything like that whatsoever. By Joey Logano standards, this has been a dreadful season. Only 307 laps led, 6 DNFs, an average finish of 17.6, only 12 top 10s. But he's here for it by some miracle. He's here. He would not have even been close to a playoff spot had it not been for that crazy race at Nashville that had 31 extra laps due to a series of restarts and crashes and drivers running out of fuel. Logano ended up winning that race, only leading 9 laps on the day, and got himself into the playoffs based on that. And then won the first race of the playoffs at Atlanta. And then with a gutsy, and then was eliminated after the round of 12, but then Alex Bowman failed post race inspection, opened up a spot for Logano, and at Vegas, a gutsy call by Paul Wolf won him that race on fuel strategy. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how it keeps happening, but Joey Logano is back in the championship four. I've said it before, but I think Logano is the best playoff slash chase performer, not named Jimmy Johnson. You look at some of the numbers 2014, 15, 16, he was spectacular. 2018 obviously won the championship, made the Final Four again in 2020 with the win at Kansas. That really tough win to watch if you remember the 550 package. 2022, obviously, winning Vegas again, winning the championship. That's been the biggest thing with Aglano is not only the last 3 times has he made it here in even years, but he has won the first race of the championship or of the round of 8. Vegas in 2022, Kansas in 2020, Martinsville 2018, giving his team 3 extra weeks to focus solely on this car, which I think is a really scary thing. Even though Logano hasn't had the best numbers earlier this year in Phoenix, he crashed out and finished 34th. Was good, but not great at Gateway, finished 5th. But the fact that Ryan Blaney ran as well as he did, you know that Team Penske, regardless of who wins it, you know they want one of their drivers to bring home the championship. I'm sure they'll be in communication. Those teams will be working with one another, trying to get the best car, the best 2 cars they can get at Phoenix to try to get Roger Penske championship. I don't know how Logano keeps doing it. I'm gonna keep saying it, but you cannot take him lightly. Anytime you get here, he has the most championship 4 appearances for a reason. He's tied with Kyle Busch for the most Cup championships in this format for a reason. So who do I think is going to win the championship? It's pretty tough to say. Like I said, there's a lot going on with this championship 4 to begin with. Ryan Blaney, no one's won the championship 4 2 years in a row in the Cup Series. Joey Logano has run really rough for his standards, has a worse average finish by 2 positions than anybody else in the championship 4. Tyler Reddick has been running really well all year long, but all the outside circumstances, the lawsuit against NASCAR, that 2311's filing, and everything like that. Are you going to win a championship while actively suing the sport you're trying to win the championship under? And William Byron, all the Martinsville fiasco. So there's a lot that's making me not want to pick drivers, but one of these has to get broken. So I need to just get over all of that and make a pick here. Before the season started, like I said, I picked William Byron to win the championship. I had Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano in the championship 4. I did not get Ryan Blaney. I had Chase Elliott making it instead of him. Before the playoffs started, I picked Kyle Larson to win the championship. He got eliminated in the round of 8. So this is the toughest pick I think I've ever made for the championship 4. But I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick. I think that it's going to be the year for Tyler Reddick. We are going to christen a brand new super duper star in the NASCAR Cup Series. I think it's going to be a walk-off win once again. I don't think a non-playoff driver is going to win it for the second year in a row. Tyler Reddick will win this race, his 4th of the year, and in doing so, Tyler Reddick will become the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion. Let me know your guys' thoughts. This is one of the toughest years of predictions I think there's ever been. Who do you guys think is going to win the championship? Are my picks on? Are my picks off? What are you most excited for this weekend? Let's close out the season on a high note. Cannot wait for it. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
This is the Harry Loomis Show.